My name is Amy Calloway. I'm 37, and in a family like mine, where money is legacy and legacy is war, I was always the one no one bet on. My sister Isla was the golden child, polished, powerful, perfectly aligned with our late father's empire.
Me?
I was the afterthought with a quiet voice and a dusty degree in archival law. They dressed me up for appearances, but kept me out of every real conversation. I've spent years pretending that didn't sting. But standing at Isla's wedding last Saturday, when her new father-in-law looked right through me like I was nothing, I realized something had shifted. Because that morning, 12 black cars pulled up with my name on them, and none of them belonged to the Calloways. The ceremony was held at Pebble Beach, where the air smelled like salt and wealth. White orchids lined the Arch Live string quartet, champagne towers taller than my apartment. I stepped out of my rideshare and was immediately mistaken for staff. Ma'am, catering's in the back. I didn't even correct him. Inside, Isla beamed like a woman who'd won. Her designer gown hugged her frame in all the right places, and she looked directly past me, as if I were a ghost. Her fiancé, Nolan March, whispered something in her ear. She laughed. Loudly. Elias March, his father, watched from the shadows like a man who owned the ocean. Silver hair, tailored suit, wristwatch that probably cost more than my car. He walked past me without a glance. No flicker of recognition. And that's when it happened. A low, coordinated engine growl. Heads turned. 12 black luxury vehicles glided into the valet loop in perfect formation. Rolls-Royce, Maybach, Bentleys. Matte. Gleaming. Powerful. The crowd murmured. A valet choked on his water. Is that a diplomatic convoy?
No.
They weren't here for the bride or groom. The driver stepped out, all in matching charcoal suits. The one in front walked straight toward me, holding a thick envelope sealed in gold wax. Miss Amy Calloway? His voice was neutral. His eyes were not. I hesitated. He didn't. Your fleet is ready, he said, and handed me the envelope. And this was instructed to be delivered to you today, by order of the Osprey Trust. The name hit like a blade between my ribs.
Osprey.
I hadn't heard that word in years. My father used to say it whenever he wanted me to remember something. The Osprey always knows the tide before the storm. I cracked the seal. Inside was a single sentence. The reel has been activated. You have 6 hours before they challenge it. A murmur of confusion rippled through the guests. Phones were raised. Someone whispered my name. A camera flash caught my face just as my hand began to shake. I looked at Isla. She looked away. And then I turned, slow, calm, deliberate, and slid into the back seat of the first car. A girl no one invited. A girl they forgot. And, apparently, the heir they never saw coming. Miss Calloway, the driver said, closing the door behind me, your father's reel has just been activated. The car moved like it knew something I didn't. Quiet, fast, too smooth for the road. My fingers pressed into the envelope on my lap like it might disappear. Outside, wedding guests spilled out, whispering. One woman tripped over her own heels trying to film me. They looked at me like I had detonated something. I did. The air inside the car smelled like new leather and nerves. The driver didn't speak again. Just classical piano playing low, like someone was trying to drown out a scream with elegance. I opened the envelope. Inside, white cardstock. A single sentence, centered, bold. The reel has been activated. You have 6 hours before they challenge it. 6 hours. I read it again. Then again. The last time I saw my father, we didn't speak. Not really. I poured his coffee. He asked if I still liked working with dusty things, and I nodded. That was it.
No closure.
No hint of this. My hands trembled. I folded the paper carefully, like it might explode. A name sat below the line. Reagan Sinclair. That hit harder than the letter. Reagan had been my closest friend in college. Sharp as hell. She once told me, the truth always shows up late, but it always shows up overdressed. We hadn't spoken in 9 years. The car turned left. I looked up. This wasn't toward my apartment. Where are we going? I asked. To Miss Sinclair, the driver said. She's waiting for you. Cut to. The house was glass and concrete, perched over the Pacific like a secret. Fog rolled over the deck like someone had ordered smoke for effect. My heels clicked across the stone walkway too loudly. Door opened before I could knock. Reagan looked exactly the same, but tired, like she hadn't slept in weeks and didn't plan to.
Inside, she said. Now.
Cut to. Manila folders spread across the glass coffee table. Legal codes, chain of custody logs, notarized statements, all bearing my name. You're listed as primary beneficiary under the Osprey Trust, she said, flipping through documents. It's not just a will. It's a network of private holdings, properties, intellectual patents, equity in March Tech. I blinked. Wait, March Tech? Elias's company. She didn't blink. Correction. Your father's company. He bankrolled the seed capital under a shell entity before Elias ever stepped in. You now own controlling interest. Static. Inside my head, it buzzed, sharp. I don't want it, I said. Truth burned my throat. You already have it, she said. And they know. A screen lit up. Security footage from earlier. Me, entering the car. Isla watching, frozen. Nolan texting. Phones were recording. The footage hit 3 gossip blogs before you reached Carmel Highlands. I stared. Why? Because perception controls narrative, she said. And if they frame you as unstable, manipulative, greedy, it won't matter what's legal. They'll have already won. I swallowed hard. So this will, why now? She handed me another document. Different paper. Older ink. Your father placed a time trigger. 37th birthday. Today. Why? He didn't trust your sister. I froze. A beat. Her eyes darkened. He didn't trust anyone. The lights flickered.
Twice.
Reagan stood. Moved fast. Checked her security panel. Motion detected. Back in trance. My stomach dropped. Do you have a weapon? I asked. No, she said. But I have cameras. And this. She reached under the table, pulled out a burner phone.
Typ it fast.
Press send. Outside, a faint hum.
Drones.
2 of them hovered beyond the deck. Quiet. Watching. I stepped back from the glass. Reagan hit the blackout button. The room went dark. Heartbeat. My own breath loud. I think I'm being followed, I whispered. You think, she said. Amy, they've been watching you since before your father died. What are they after? Reagan looked straight at me. Her voice was flat. Control. A knock. We didn't move. The knock came again. Louder. Then silence. I looked down at my phone. No service. On the table, her laptop blinked, signal jammed. The third knock was softer. Knuckles dragging. Taunting. My breath caught. Her hand gripped my arm. Your family's been hiding more than money, Amy, Reagan whispered, eyes scanning the shadows. They buried the truth with him. Rain came sideways. Wind tore at Reagan's glass panels like claws. We sat in the dark, listening, waiting, hoping it wasn't real. The door hadn't opened, but the knock hadn't been imagined. She leaned in, whispered, Pack. 3 minutes. No time for protest. I shoved the papers into my tote. Reagan grabbed 2 hard drives, a Glock from a hidden drawer, and her car keys. Cut scene. Her SUV peeled out of the driveway. Headlights cut across fog. I glanced back once. The drone was gone. Someone was inside, I said. Reagan kept her eyes on the road. I know. They didn't take anything. Because they weren't looking. They were leaving something. My stomach flipped. You think they bugged her house? I think, she said. We're already too late. She made a sharp turn, tires shrieking. Destination: San Francisco. Our goal: the original law office that had drafted the Osprey Trust, Marcus Delaney and Associates. Downtown was asleep when we pulled up. Reagan used a key card. Outdated, but it beeped green. The air inside smelled like mold, toner, and something decaying. No one's worked here since Delaney died, Reagan whispered. And his records? I asked. She looked at me. If they're here, they'll be buried deep. Cut scene. We descended into the sub-basement. Concrete walls. Fluorescent buzz. Filing cabinets stacked like tombstones. Some locked. Some broken open. Reagan found a keypad safe built into the wall. Combination, she said. My father's voice echoed in my mind. The Osprey always knows the tide before the storm. I typed in my birth date. Then reversed.
Beep. Click.
It opened. Inside, a velvet pouch, a stack of documents, and a small, dust-covered recorder. She clicked play. My father's voice. If you're hearing this, then the family's failed you. I froze. You were always the quiet one. The only one who asked questions. If they're coming for this trust, it means I was right about Elias. He wanted the patents. The shell companies. He saw you as nothing. So, I made you everything. Reagan turned off the recorder. I could barely breathe. Cinematic cut. We exited through the alley. The air had gone colder. Sharper. That's when I saw it. Across the street. Parked behind a delivery van. A black SUV. Engine running. Don't look at it, Reagan said. Walk. Normal. Someone's in there, I whispered. I know. She opened the door to her car. I slid in. But as she hit the ignition, the SUV moved.
Quick.
Deliberate. It rammed the side of our car. Glass shattered. Metal screamed. We spun, hit a hydrant, steam exploding around us. Cut to chaos. Reagan dragged me out. Blood on her cheek. I stumbled onto the sidewalk, heart punching my chest. The SUV peeled away.
No plats. No hesitation.
Who the hell? I gasped. They wanted to scare you, Reagan said, coughing. Next time, they won't miss. A siren somewhere. We left before the cops arrived. Cut scene. At her emergency hideout in Oakland, a storage unit converted into an office bunker, Reagan pulled out the velvet pouch from the safe. Inside, a thumb drive. Encrypted. She plugged it into a closed laptop. Folders loaded. March Tech financials. Board meeting minutes. Osprey Holdings. Photos.
Wait.
Photos? She opened the folder. Hundreds. From different years. My face. In cafes. On sidewalks. At my apartment. As recent as last week. Taken from distance. Some angled through glass. They've been tracking me, I whispered. For years, Reagan said.
Twist. Drop.
We opened another folder. Labeled. Isla.
Surveillance audio.
Transcripts. Reagan clicked one. Isla's voice. Tense. Frightened. I told you, if she finds out. Elias. Then we burn it all. There is no inheritance if she doesn't exist on paper.
Static.
Then Isla again. She's just my sister. You said she was disposable. I recoiled. Cold washed through my chest. No one's disposable, I said. They just hope you believe you are. Reagan didn't answer. The screen flashed. New file detected. Automatic backup. Deed transfer. PDF. She opened it. The final proof. Control of March Tech. Transferred from my father to me 2 months before his death. Through a shell company. Through the Osprey Trust. Elias had hidden it. I didn't inherit a piece of the company. I own the majority stake. And Elias? He built an empire on stolen ground. Amy stared at the deed, her voice low and trembling. If I expose this, they'll come for me next. Fog curled around the bunker door like smoke from a fuse. Inside, the screens flickered with motion detect alerts. Nothing clear. Nothing still. Reagan's fingers never stopped moving, typing, copying, encrypting. She didn't ask if I was okay. She knew I wasn't. You have 2 choices, she said. You vanish or you fight. I've spent my whole life disappearing, I muttered. Maybe it's time I burn. She didn't smile. I didn't mean it as a metaphor. Cut scene. The next morning, we drove toward Pebble Beach. Brunch. Private. Hosted by Elias March. The house looked like a cathedral disguised as a fortress. Guests filtered in through iron gates.
Suits.
Pearls. No one expected me. I walked through the front door like I belonged. Reagan followed, carrying the black case. Elias spotted me instantly. His smile never reached his eyes. "Well," he said, "this is a surprise." Isla turned. Her face froze. Then recovered. "You weren't on the list," she said. I took a step closer. Neither were the 12 luxury cars.
Cut to.
The room hushed. Forks paused midair. I set the case down on the buffet table. Reagan opened it. Stacks of documents.
Deeds.
Trust records.
Audiotranskripts.
And the recording. "My name is Amy Calloway," I said. "My father's daughter. Legal beneficiary of the Osprey Trust. And the controlling owner of March Tech."
Gasps.
Someone dropped a glass. A few guests pulled out phones. Others slipped away. "I don't want your company," I said, eyes locked on Elias. "But I won't let you launder my name through it." Elias didn't blink. "I assume you have proof," he said. Reagan hit play. My father's voice filled the room again. "If anything happens to me, Elias March is not to be trusted. My trust, my shares, my legacy belong to Amy. I built this empire for her, because she's the only one who never asked for it." A long, painful silence. Then Isla snapped. "He was manipulated. He was old. You took advantage of him." Reagan pulled out the last page, dated, notarized, audio-backed. He updated the trust 6 months before his death. "Of sound mind. Verified by 2 independent attorneys. That trust is illegal." "No, Isla." I cut in. "What's illegal is what you and Elias did after. Transferring assets. Falsifying board reports. Signing under a revoked signature authority."
Her face drained.
"You have no idea what you're doing," she hissed. "I know exactly what I'm doing. For once." Elias raised his hand. Voice calm. "You're bluffing. You're not ready for this war." That's when the explosion hit. Glass shook. Guests screamed. Smoke rose from the marina visible through the bay window. A yacht burned. Flames licked the sky. Sirens wailed from somewhere down the cliff. Reagan's phone buzzed. One message. "No name. Back off or she disappears next." Attached, a photo of me sleeping. Taken from outside my window. Last night. Cut scene. We were rushed into a secure room as fire crews arrived. Elias was on the phone instantly, voice sharp. Isla paced, white-knuckled. I stared at the screen. The photo still open. "They were that close," I whispered. "No," Reagan said. "They never left." I thought the attack in Oakland was the warning. It was. This is escalation." Reagan nodded. "You just became dangerous." I took the phone, forwarded the image to 3 journalists, attached the trust deed. "I thought you wanted to stay quiet," she said. "They burned a boat to destroy data. They'll burn more." I looked out at the smoke climbing the sky. "Let them." She paused. "You sure about this?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to, because I already saw the next move. And I was about to make it. Amy steps forward, eyes locked on Elias. "You stole my legacy. Now I'm taking back everything with interest." The injunction hit at noon. Federal. Emergency. Filed in Northern California. Reagan read it aloud in the car while I watched the mirrors. Temporary restraining order on asset transfers. March Tech accounts frozen. Board access suspended pending probate review. A pause. "That bought us time," she said. "Time is a currency," I said. "And it's the one thing they'll try to steal." We didn't go back to the bunker. Too predictable. We cut north, then west, then south again. 3 turns. 2 exits. 1 decoy. I kept thinking about the photo. Me asleep. The angle wrong. Too close. Someone had been inside. Cut scene. The marina was chaos. Charred fiberglass still smoked. Fire crews packed up. News vans lined the street. Reporters smelled blood. We parked 2 blocks away. Reagan grabbed my wrist. "We don't split up." "I know," I said. "The trick is making them think we will." A man bumped into me. Hard. Apologized too fast. I checked my bag. Still there. But my phone vibrated. Unknown number. "Move and you die." I didn't stop walking. Another buzz. A pin dropped. A live location. My location. "They're spoofing your GPS," Reagan muttered. "They want you scared. They want me reactive." "Then don't be." We ducked into a public ballroom overlooking the water. Fundraiser banners, donors milling, security posted. A bad place to grab someone. A good place to hide.
Cut to.
Isla stood by the windows, arms folded, eyes red. She looked smaller without Elias beside her.
"She saw me."
Flinched. "Everyone's watching," she hissed when I approached. "You couldn't have picked a worse moment." "Worse moments are where the truth breathes," I said. "Talk." She laughed. A sharp, broken sound. "You always did think in slogans." "Say it," I said. "Say what you did." Her eyes flicked to the guards. To the doors. To the cameras. "He promised me protection," she whispered. "A seat. He said you'd burn it all." "And you believed him." "I believed you were weak." That landed harder than any threat. "People confuse quiet with empty," I said. "That's their first mistake." She swallowed. The fleet. One of the cars was bugged.
GPS. Audio.
I didn't know he'd use it, I finished. "You always know. You just don't like the cost."
A commotion. Shouts.
Someone yelled my name. Security surged. Reagan slid in beside me, already on the phone. "Court clerk just confirmed. Assets frozen. Elias is trapped." Isla's face drained. "He won't let this stand." "No," I said. "He'll try to end it." Cut scene. A hand grabbed my elbow.
Strong.
Male. Plain clothes. "Ma'am, we need to ask you a few questions." Badge flashed too fast. I twisted. Reagan stepped in. "Mandatory reports were filed an hour ago. You're out of sequence." His grip tightened. I drove my heel down. He cursed. The crowd gasped. A second man lunged. Security swarmed. Cameras flashed.
Distraction.
Reveal. The first man bolted. We ran.
Cut to.
We burst through a service door into the glare of afternoon. Sirens. Footsteps. Reagan shoved me into the passenger seat. Tires screamed. A black sedan slid into traffic behind us. "Don't race," she said. "Disappear." We turned into a hospital parking structure.
Down. Down.
Lights strobing.
Echoes bouncing.
The sedan followed. Reagan killed the engine mid-level. We climbed out, ducked between cars, blended into scrubs and wheelchairs and oxygen tanks. I breathed shallow.
Fast.
A woman once told me fear is information. You either read it or it reads you. Cut scene. We watched from the stairwell as the sedan cruised past, confused. My phone buzzed again. Unknown. Bring the drive. Pebble Cliffs. Sunset.
Alone.
Attached. A new photo.
Isla. Crying.
Tied to a chair. Today's date scribbled on a notepad behind her. Reagan's jaw set. They want leverage. They want me, I said. They always did. Don't romanticize this, she snapped. People who want control don't negotiate. I know, I said. They monologue. She stared at me. What are you thinking? That blood is thicker than water, I said. And lies are thicker than both. We moved. Cut scene. Dusk bled over the cliffs. The old Callaway house stood dark against the sky. Windows black. Gate open. A mistake on purpose. Reagan slowed. If he's there, he will be, I said. Men like him don't share the stage. I stepped out. The wind smelled like salt and smoke. I walked alone. The door creaked open. Inside, A light snapped on, and someone breathed behind me. The breath behind me was slow, intentional, like someone rehearsing the end. I turned. Elias stood in the hallway, alone.
No bodyguards. No lawyers.
Just him and the smell of rot and old varnish. You came, he said. I got the invite, I replied. Hard to ignore a hostage. He gave a small, cruel smile. Isla's fine. That's not the word I'd use for tied to a chair. He shrugged. Drama gets things done. I'm not here for drama, I said. I'm here to end it. Cut scene. He stepped aside. The house groaned like it recognized me. We moved through the dark. Candles flickered on low tables. Shadows stretched across walls lined with oil paintings. My father's portrait was gone, replaced by a mirror. You know what your father never understood? Elias said. Power isn't in ownership. It's in perception. People follow the name they fear. He feared what you'd become, I said. He feared losing control. We were the same. No, I said. He built things. You take them. He led me to the cellar.
Door creaked.
Stairs old, wood moaning under weight. At the bottom, Isla. Duct tape. Rope. Tear tracks down her face. Reagan was already there. Gun in hand. Fury behind her eyes. You're late, she muttered. I took the scenic route, I said. You brought backup, Elias said, almost impressed. I nodded toward the blinking red under the table. Backup brought itself. Live stream.
Audio. Police on standby.
Elias's smile cracked. You think this saves you? No, I said. I think it buries you. Twist. Reagan stepped forward, holding up a flash drive. Not just live streaming, she said. We crack the vault. The shell companies. The military contracts. The deaths covered. Including one specific death, James Calloway. Elias froze. She continued. Your diabetic kits.
Swapped.
Tampered with. Enough to cause organ failure over 3 weeks. The patent rights shifted 2 days later. We traced it. Lies, he said, too fast. The kind that hold up in federal court. Reagan snapped. Twist, twist. Isla broke down. You killed him. You said it was just a delay, just business. Elias turned to her. You didn't object. I didn't know. You didn't care, he said, voice sharp. None of you did. You all wanted pieces. Amy was the only one who didn't ask. I stepped forward. He thought that made me weak. But it's what made me worthy. Elias looked around. The house. The table. The cables. He knew it was over. But monsters don't go quiet. He reached behind his back. Pulled a revolver. Pointed it at Isla. Cut scene. Gunshot. Echo.
Scream.
But it wasn't his. Reagan had fired first. Elias dropped. Hand open. Weapon sliding. Cops stormed in seconds later.
Lights.
Sirens. Barked orders. Reagan was calm. Controlled. I untied Isla. She sobbed into my shoulder. Outside, the sky cracked open. First rain in weeks. Cinematic cut. Weeks later. Court hearings. Depositions. News cycles ran wild. I didn't speak publicly. I didn't have to. My father's will spoke for me. The Osprey Trust was restored. March Tech rerouted. Every asset tied to Elias's fraud seized. But I didn't keep any of it. I dissolved the board. Signed the trust into a nonprofit. Build things that outlive your ego, my father once said. That's real legacy. The press called me the ghost heiress. I let them. Truth doesn't need a microphone. Last scene. I walked the cliffs alone. The sea below was wild, honest. Isla had moved. Far from the coast. Therapy, maybe redemption. Reagan disappeared again. That's her way. And Elias?
Gone.
Buried in litigation and silence. I stood where the wind met my skin like knives.
Lia match.
Dropped it. The last copy of the forged contract burned in my hands. I didn't need the inheritance to win. I just needed them to know I remembered everything.